Okay, today's lesson is 5.1, graphing quadratic functions. So the main topic of today is all graphing. Okay, we're going to talk about 3 different ways we can graph a quadratic function. The first way we're going to talk about is if it's in standard form, which would be in the form y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. Okay, and no matter what, our graphs are always going to be parabolas, whether it open up or open down. Okay, either one of those. Okay, they're going to have a vertex. Okay, one point where it changes directions, and they're going to have an axis of symmetry. An axis of symmetry, meaning that it's going to be symmetric on both sides of that line. Okay, so now let's take a look specifically standard form. Okay, specifically in standard form, if a is greater than 0, it opens up. Obviously, then if a is less than 0, it opens down. Okay, keep in mind as you're going through this, if I go too fast, pause it, rewind, watch it again, whatever you have to do. And make sure you get this information, though. This is very important information. So, opens up, opens down, and we also know that the x-coordinate of the vertex and the axis of symmetry, so the x-coordinate of the vertex and the axis of symmetry come from opposite of b over 2a. Okay, negative b over 2a. This is going to be very important for us. The rest of it we can figure out by process of elimination. Okay, but this is going to be very important for us. Okay, so let's take a look at an equation here in standard form. I have y equals 2x squared minus 8x plus 6. Alright, so we should notice, first part, if a is greater than 0, it opens up. If a is less than 0, it opens down. Remember, a goes with your x squared. So a is greater than 0, so I know my graph is going to open up. And the next thing I need to find is I need to find my axis of symmetry and my vertex. Okay, so let's figure out what is the opposite of b over 2a. Well, the opposite of b. Okay, so I should have negative 8 goes on top. So I have negative 8 over, notice it's 2 times a. So I have 2 times a, which is 2. Right? This simplifies down to, well, negative 8 is a positive 8 over 2 times 2, which is 4, which is 2. Okay? So this, I know that x equals 2. Now, that tells me a couple things. First of all, it tells me what my x value is for my vertex, but second of all, it also gives me my axis of symmetry. Okay, notice x equals 2 right here. Okay, so we have the vertical line of x equals 2. I did it in a dashed line because that is our axis of symmetry. Okay, meaning half my graph's going to be over here, half it's going to be over here. We know it opens up. Okay, now if my x value is 2, I need to plug that back in to figure out what my y value is. Okay, so let's plug that back in. Y equals 2 times 2 squared minus 8 times 2 plus 6. 2 squared is 4 times 2 is 8. So I have 8 minus, this is 16, plus 6. 8 minus 16 is negative 8, plus 6 is negative 2. So I know that y equals negative 2. Okay, now, with these two things, I now have a coordinate point of negative 2, 2, okay, which is my vertex. Okay, so my vertex, I did that backwards, sorry, it's 2, negative 2. 2, negative 2. Okay, so I go 2, negative 2. There's my vertex. Now, I also have to pick 2 points on one side of my axis of symmetry to plug into my equation and graph. Okay, so I still have to pick 2 points. Okay, I would always pick the easy ones. I would pick 1 and 0. Okay, always pick 1 and 0 if at all possible. Okay, those are easy to plug in. So let's do this now. Let's plug 1 in for x and figure out what my y is. So I have 2 times 1 squared, okay, just plugging it in for x, minus 8 times 1 plus 6. I know that y is equal to this. Okay, I plugged in, I know my x value is 1. Okay, I'm going to have another coordinate point here. 1 squared is 1, 2 times 1 is 2, minus 8 times 1, which is 8, plus 6. 2 minus 8, negative 6, plus 6 is 0. So I know that y equals 0. So my y value is 0. So I have another point. 1, 0. 1, 0. Okay, I already told you that we need to choose 2 points. So I'm going to pick 0 because that's the easy one. Okay, so I'm going to go back in and I'm going to plug in 0 now instead of 1. So I have y equals 2 times 0 squared minus 8 times 0 plus 6. 0 squared is 0, 2 times 0 is 0, minus 8 times 0, which is 0, plus 6. I know that y equals 6. What was my x? It was 0. So I have 0, comma, 6. Okay, and there I have my other point. So I go to 0, I go up 6. Now, some of you might be asking, well, but what about the other side? Okay, that's what's nice about the axis of symmetry. I don't have to pick points over here. I can go up to my y-axis here because I have 0, and I can just notice that I'm 1 away from the axis of symmetry. So I can just go to the other side, and I'm 1 away. Come up to this point. I'm 1, 2 away. So go to your axis of symmetry, 1, 2. Okay, draw your parabola. Okay, not difficult, but a decent amount of steps. So be careful when you're going through this. Make sure you're taking your time with your steps. Okay, if you need to re-watch how I solved this one, rewind and re-watch this. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next form. If you did not understand this, go back and watch me do it again. Okay? If you did understand that, we are going to go back to vertex form. Okay, our next one we're going to take a look at is vertex form. So get another graph up here. Okay, vertex form. I have the other one was standard form. This is vertex form. Y equals a times x minus h squared plus k. That's That's our vertex form. Now, the vertex is at h, comma, k. Right? Just like we've done in the past with our vertex being at h, comma, k. Okay, our axis of symmetry is at x equals h. Double check that, make sure I said that right. Yes. Axis of symmetry is at x equals h. Okay. I'm going to take this graph and I'm going to move it down here. Okay, let's do an example. Vertex form. I have y equals negative 1/2 times x plus 3 squared plus 4. And notice, our vertex is at h, comma, k. Be careful, and this should be a minus sign. Since it's a plus sign here, this h is actually a negative 3. So I should have negative 3, comma, 4. H, k. Okay, should have negative 3, comma, 4. Alright, so I can go up here, negative 3, 4. There's my vertex. I also know that my axis of symmetry is at x equals h. Okay, well I should know, once I have my vertex plotted, my axis of symmetry has to go through that. It's always going to be vertical right now. Okay, so now I have my axis of symmetry. Pick easy points. Negative 2, negative 1. Don't go too far over here because you might get some crazy numbers. Okay, do negative 2, negative 1. Alright, plug them in, figure out what your y value is. So y equals negative 1/2, negative 2 plus 3 squared plus 4. Okay, remember I chose negative 2 as my x value. Negative 2 plus 3 is 1. Squared is 1, so I have negative 1/2 times 1 plus 4. Okay. Negative 1/2 times 1 is negative 1/2 plus 4. Okay. So now that I have negative 1/2 plus 4, I have a positive 3 1/2. Okay, now I know I told you guys mixed numbers, or not mixed numbers, excuse me, improper fractions. Okay, but for plotting points, it really doesn't matter as long as you can get your point plotted. Okay, so I should have 3 1/2. Because you're not going to give me, this isn't going to be your answer. Okay, so it doesn't really matter to me what you use. You can use a decimal for all I care, because I'm never going to see it. Okay, that's simply for you. So I need to go to negative 2, positive 3 1/2. Okay, now let's check negative 1. I have y equals negative 1/2 times negative 1 plus 3 squared plus 4. Remember, my x value was negative 1. I got to figure out what my y value is. So I have negative 1/2. Negative 1 plus 3 is positive 2. Squared is 4. So I have 1/2, negative 1/2 times 4 plus 4. Negative 1/2 times 4 is negative 2, plus 4 is positive 2. Okay, so I have negative 1, comma, 2. And plot that. Negative 1, 2. Once you have that, use your axis of symmetry. Okay, here I'm 1 away, so I need to go 1 to the left. Here I'm 2 to the right, so I need to go 2 to the right. draw your parabola. Okay, again, if I lost you anywhere there, go back, watch me do all of that again. Okay, all this is plugging things into a general form of equations and solving for another variable. Okay, if you got confused, go back and watch it again. And the last form that we have is intercept form. Okay. Intercept form is kind of nice because it's exactly what it sounds like. It gives you your intercepts. So for intercept form, I have y equals a times x minus p, close your parentheses, times x minus q. Okay, the nice thing about this is your intercepts, your x-intercepts, are at, I'm actually not even going to say that, are at p and q. Okay, or p comma 0, q comma 0. Okay, keep in mind, these are negative in your equation. Okay, keep that in mind. So it's going to change your answer. If it's a negative in the problem, it's actually going to be a positive p. All right? Let me copy a graph here real quick. Okay. And let's take a look at an example. So I have y equals negative x plus 2 times x minus 4. Okay. So I should be able to tell from looking at this, my x-intercepts. Okay, one is at negative 2, 0. Okay, remember this is negative. If this is a positive, then this is a negative. And one is at 4, 0. Okay, those are my two x-intercepts. So I want to come up here, negative 2, 0, and 4, 0. Okay. Well, now what? Okay, now it doesn't really give us any more rules. Okay, so we need to take a look at this. But looking at that graph, with these 2 points here, we can find the axis of symmetry. Okay, it's going to be right in between those 2 points. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So our axis of symmetry, right in between 4 and negative 2, is going to be right here at positive 1. Okay, that's our axis of symmetry. Now, thinking about that, that also means that that is where my vertex has to be. My vertex has to be at 1 comma something. Okay, I don't know if it opens up, I don't know if it opens down. Okay, you can actually look right here and tell that it opens down. Okay, but we need to find my vertex. Okay, I know my x value is 1. So I'm going to take my x value, y equals negative, instead of x, I put 1, plus 2, times, instead of x, I put 1, minus 4. Okay, 1 plus 2 is 3, but there's a negative sign out front. So I have negative 3, times 1 minus 4, which is negative 3. So my y actually equals positive 9. My y equals positive 9. Remember my x value, oops, my x was a 1, I plugged in 1, so this should be 1 comma 9. Okay, That's my vertex. Okay, this is probably going to be your easiest way to graph things if you're lucky enough for it to be in intercept form. Okay, so 7, 8, 9. Okay, so we were right, it does open down. Okay, and then you just draw your, oh, that was poor. Draw your parabola. Okay, again, if you are confused on how I did that, rewind this and watch the video again. Okay, rewatch how I did that. I'm not going to do any more examples on that because you can rewind, pause to go back and watch again. Okay. The last thing that we have in this section is writing quadratic functions in standard form. Okay, writing in standard form. All this is using your order of operations and simplifying things. Okay, so if I have y equals negative x plus 4 and x minus 9, okay, hopefully you recognize that this was in intercept form, okay, but I want it in standard form. Okay, well, all we have to do is just use our order of operations. Use things we already know. Distribute this negative sign. So I should have y equals negative x minus 4 times x minus 9. Okay. Now I have two expressions here that I can FOIL. Hopefully everybody remembers how to FOIL. Okay, first, outside, inside, last. Okay, FOIL. So I have negative x times x, which is a negative x squared. That was our first. Okay. Outer, negative x times negative 9 is plus 9x. Inner, negative 4 times x is minus 4x. And last, I have negative 4 times negative 9, which is a positive 36. Y still equals that. Now y equals, combine your like terms, negative x squared plus 5x plus 36. Okay, writing in standard form. It is now in standard form. All I did is I took something that was not in standard form, I multiplied through to get it into standard form. Okay, let's do one more here that they have there as an example in the book. Okay, I have y equals 3 times x minus 1 squared plus 8. Okay, you have to be very careful on your order of operations. Okay, first comes parentheses. Is there something inside parentheses? Yes, but I cannot do anything with this because I cannot combine my x and my negative 1. Okay, parentheses, exponents. Do I have exponents? Yes. Okay, I have x minus 1 squared. What does that mean? Okay, well that means that I have y equals 3 times x minus 1 times x minus 1 plus 8. Okay, notice, x minus 1 squared. I'm multiplying them together. Okay, so I have 3 times, now we FOIL again. X times x is x squared. X times negative 1 is negative x. Negative 1 times x is negative x. Negative 1 times negative 1 is a positive 1. Okay, plus 8. Combine this. This is now negative 2x. So I have 3 times 3 times x squared minus 2x plus 1 plus 8. Do not add this 8 and this 1 yet. Okay, order of operations. I just did my exponents. Now I need to do multiplication and division. So we need to distribute here. So I have 3x squared minus 6x plus 3, okay, and then plus 8. Make sure this 8 is not in parentheses, so don't multiply that 3 times 8. Okay, my final answer, y equals 3x squared minus 6x plus 11. Now I can combine these two. Okay, there's our answer in standard form. Okay, again, if you get stumped here, I have to count on you guys to take it upon yourself to go back and watch this again. And you have to watch me do these processes over and over sometimes to get the point. Okay, if you don't understand, I need you to go back and watch the video again, or just the parts that you didn't understand. Watch them again. If you understand everything, then I expect that you should be able to do the following assignment. Right, on page 253, we need to do 17 through 49 odds. Okay, 17 through 49 odds. This will take 2 sheets of graph paper. Again, please only take 2 sheets of graph paper. I do not have a ton of graph paper for the rest of the school year because some people are taking more than what they need. 2 sheets of graph paper is all you need. That is due tomorrow. Have a good day.